Welcome to the Honest Health Podcast with your host, Jeffrey Burke. Honest Health brings you the brightest minds in the natural products industry, as well as athletes and entertainers. Jeff will keep you entertained and informed while educating on how to be successful on your healthy journeys. Now, here's your host, Jeffrey Burke.
Hello and welcome back to the Honest Health Podcast. Jeffrey Burke here. I'm so glad you're back with me today. You know what's interesting is this new platform is fun. I actually get to see the faces of my wonderful guests, where 42 years of radio, I looked at the receiver, so I really didn't get much time to actually see anyone. So this is kind of fun, and it really gives people a chance to, either go to Spotify and listen or to go to YouTube and watch the interview. So I know it's going to be a great show today. Well, I am very excited today, and I feel very honored to have the one and only Kristine W with me today. Hey, Kristine.
Hi, honey. How are you? Hi, Jeffrey.
I'm fantastic.
Happy Patrick's Day, or St. Patrick's Day. Isn't it wild?
It's fantastic. I'm so glad you're here. You know, we've been trying to get this in for a while, but you've been so incredibly busy, which I'm very happy for. And it's wonderful. But I have to jump into your bio because I want people that know you to be reminded of your awesomeness, but people that may not have ever followed you, I want them to know it, so now they'll start following you. So this is an amazing bio. I think you guys are going to love this. Named by Billboard Magazine as the #8 greatest dance artist of all time and the #3 greatest from the last decade, trailing only Madonna and Beyoncé, Kristine W has proved herself a lasting talent. Through nearly 25 years in music, she has consistently delivered songs that touch the hearts and souls and compel bodies to find the mighty groove out on the dance floor. She's had 17 #1 singles, tying Mariah Carey for the 6th most Billboard #1 dance songs. She has made a career by focusing on the art and the profession of being a singer, songwriter, and musician. She enjoys a grassroots mutual affection with fans who revere her voice, appreciate how the aspects of life and emotions she sings about echoes their own feelings and expectations. She was determined to front and lead her own band. She'll tell you she heard a lot of, "You can't do that. You can't do this. You're not going to be a female band leader. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to sing with somebody else's band." But once again, she persevered. She moved forward and put her own group together. She led her group, Kristine W and the Sting, to prominence in the fiercely competitive Vegas market, eventually performing at the Las Vegas Hilton more than any other entertainer, including Elvis. She won Entertainer of the Year, Best Singer, Best Band, Best Show Band, and Kristine said, "I had 18 employees. I was the most successful female band leader probably ever as far as show bands go." Record labels and production companies constantly courted Kristine with offers to sing every style of popular music imaginable. But her band specialty was unbelievably molding pop and rock hits and classics into propulsive dance numbers. Bellied her musical aim, and that was her focus. She is a high energy person. She'll tell you that. She'll also tell you that I love energy of dance music, always have. It's really joyful and happy. To me, dance music is like the energy of life. So she took her voice and songs to Europe, where dance music reigns supreme and the most of the genre's cutting edge producers and mixers are found, and recorded her first album in London. 1996, Feel What You Want, Kristine's debut single, made an immediate mark in the dance club, soaring to #1 here and abroad and becoming a dance floor classic. Her in-store concert back at the Virgin Megastore in Times Square drew lines of adoring fans around the block. She signed with RCA Records, followed with more #1 hits on her album Stronger, like its title tune and Lovin' You. Just as she was establishing her career, Kristine was diagnosed with a particularly aggressive strain of leukemia and given only a 30% chance of survival. She was given an experimental stem cell transplant, spent 2 years fighting the disease while also raising 2 infant children. Ironically, songs she had only written before began struck by the disease, like Land of the Living and One More Try, proved almost prophetic, as well as motivational, as Kristine struggled to overcome the disease. She'll tell you, my music always seems to give me the inspiration to keep fighting for it. And persevere, she did. and continues today to keep devoted fans in the loop of her incredible music. Her next album is scheduled to release this summer in 2025. And her words, I love creating the work and seeing people's reaction to it. Kristine W will always conclude, my voice is a gift, and I'm thankful for it. It has definitely made my life very interesting. I've gotten to make a difference and bring a lot of joy to the world, and that's what's really important. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm so glad to have you here.
This is fun, right? It's wild sitting there listening to. That's quite a recitation. Thank you, babe.
Well, it really is. And for people like us that have been following you for such a long time,
Aw.
we know the story, we love it. And I think it's going to be really great, because people don't realize, we see our favorites, we see our idols, we see our entertainers, we see them on stage, we listen to their music, but rarely do we know what's going on behind the scenes and how much work and effort and mental acuity and focus and concentration and healthy eating and balance it takes to be able to do what you do. So thank you from a
Yeah.
devoted fan.
Oh, yeah. Survival out here. We're all trying to survive it, aren't we? Journey.
We really, really are, and
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of people would like to know, you know, how have you done it? How have you been able to just stay in the groove, if you will, for such a long time? I know it's your personal motivation, but I mean, it takes work.
It takes a lot of work. And I think I really owe a lot to my upbringing. Coming up hard was good. My watching my mom struggle. It was hard. My dad died when I was like 3, and she was a widow with 4 kids. And my grandmother, she she'd gotten, she had her health issues. She'd gotten hit by lightning and survived. And so she was something that she was always, trying all these different health things out. She pureed her food to survive because she couldn't digest it after that. Yeah, just watching women struggle. And we grew up in a farm community, and everybody just helped each other. Everybody really lifted each other up because it's all we had. And I think I was just raised by really strong people that were fighters, and that really makes a difference. I think when
I think
you get hit with your own struggles, you're like, okay, wait a minute, I can't cave. My people went through, I've watched so many people struggle, and yeah, so I think it makes you feisty.
I think it does too, and there's definitely something to be said for that. And today it seems like an issue that's come about. I think probably more vividly and more present today is mental health. And I
Oh,
think
huge.
we saw a huge impact after the pandemic. Everybody was shut up at home, and it's always been one of those unspoken things. But it doesn't matter what we do today. I think we're all fighting some little battles of our own. Some of them were things we have to deal with. Some are things that are in our own heads,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes they can be clinical as well. But I really do think that a positive attitude. Um, I think using music is very beneficial for balance in our lives. And I also think having an inner circle of people that lift you up and support you is very important. And I know you have that.
Yeah, I've got really great friends. And I mean, my mom was such a positive person, and she really was a huge influence on my attitude, because she would just smile her way through everything, every crisis. And I'd just be like, oh my goodness, it, oh, they're going to shut off the, you know, the power, they can't pay the power bill. Oh, well, I'm just going to go to work and maybe I'll make more. I mean, she just always was positive. She's an amazing person. So yeah, it's a positive outlook is huge, and good things come from it. It's amazing.
I
Yeah.
had my mother was a very strong person, still is. She's going to be 90 in July. And, she was a very, very
Wow.
strong influence in my life, and she still is today. And she will tell you that I am a royal pain in the butt, but, she loves me anyway. And I think that if we listen, we can become stronger people because of the people and the lineage we came from.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. It's huge. It's really, really huge. We were lucky. We were really blessed,
Yeah, we were.
right?
and continue to be. So that's a
Yes.
wonderful thing as well. So a question that a couple people asked me some questions to ask you because they knew you were coming on. The first one is, do you ever get nervous singing anymore? Did you ever, or was it just such a natural, you just ran with it?
I think I started singing so early, so young. And I think my grandmother was pretty instrumental in that because, I remember telling her the first time I performed at church, I was like maybe 8 years old or something, 8 or 9. And I remember telling her, it's like, oh, it felt, it was really exhilarating. It was really fun, but I felt like I was going to throw up the whole time. I was so nervous. And she was like, well, we need to just do a whole lot more of the performing. And it doesn't matter who you perform for. You just need to break out your guitar and perform for people. And so then she took, she walked down with me to this old folks home over, over by this park and just showed up with my, just unannounced. And, they she just told the lady, said, oh, what's going on around here? Where's everybody, hanging out at? And they were all just in this game room. And she just said, announced, oh, I hope you don't mind, but my granddaughter's gonna gonna sing a couple songs for you. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So
I love it.
yeah, she was like that. Or she'd say, walk down to Jim McGee's house with your guitar and just sing a song for him, or just, and then I'd go to school and I'd tell my teacher, oh, I've got this song and I'm going to sing it for you for, sharing, we had share day. So I would always end up bringing my guitar and singing for share day
I
instead
love
of
it.
bringing an animal or you know what I mean, or a book or whatever. I was always bringing music everywhere. So yeah, it was good. It definitely was helpful because I remember by the time I did a serious talent show competition where there was a ton of people. I was like 13. Everybody was older than me. And I remember thinking, oh, this is easy. I got this. You know what I mean? Like, I can do this. Like, everybody else looked really panicked and scared. I'm like 13 going, let me at it. Am I next? Yeah, I
I love
performed at
it.
church a lot during the offering. That was my gig. Yeah, it was awesome.
There's amazing amount of entertainers today that will tell you they got their grounding in church.
Yeah.
And that's where they got their singing legs, if you will. You know what? I remember when you used to sing at the Hilton, and the walls went up and everything. It was like right out there in the open, and I mean you couldn't move in that area. Everybody was there. I mean, we were sitting on the laps of the poker players, and because
Oh,
we
yeah,
wanted
that's
to,
right. Yeah, you were.
so we wanted to see you. And the wonderful thing is, it's amazing because Vegas has changed dramatically. You are definitely one of the icons that actually helped to build entertainment out here on an amazing level. And today it's different. We have these like visitations where people come for a couple months at the big hotels and stuff. But you were definitely a huge, huge part of the entertainment community in Las Vegas. So thank you again for that.
Oh, you bet. It was super fun. We had really a lot of fun. And 6 nights a week, it's tough. It's very, very tough, 2 hour and a half shows a night. We did way more shows than that before we went into the big room. But yeah, but just you constantly have to change your set list because you have the same people that come back again and again and again, and you're on 6 nights a week, So you constantly have to rehearse during the day, no matter how tired you are, come up with something with new numbers. And we had dancers and the band, and you got to rehearse all those people and recostume the numbers, and it was a lot of work. Yeah, but it was a
Would you
lot of
trade
fun.
would you trade it for anything?
No, I mean it was a lot of work, and I wouldn't trade it.
It
The memories
was.
are insane. The memories are incredible, and I went from doing 6 nights a week. Uh, After I had my first Stronger, when the Stronger album came out, it was impossible to do the show anymore. You know what I mean? Because they wanted me to go out and promote the album. So
Right.
it was tough. It was tough to not have my show, my people, my group, and then we worked so hard, but it was at that point where they had an album, they spent all this money on this album, and you have to go out and go tour to get it out to the people. So we did that for, for quite a while, stayed on the road and just promoted, music at clubs and venues all over the place. It was great though. All of it was just, just I love to perform, so it doesn't really matter, where I'm at. I just love to sing for people, bring some joy.
And you do that. How hard was it to be on the road? I mean, let's say like sleep and eating healthy and just balance on the road. It's got to be difficult.
Yeah, super tough. Yeah, that is really tough. You kind of learn how to, you cut up your apples and you get your snacks and you travel with stuff because sometimes you'll be at a layover and then there'll be, oh, this flight was canceled and there's just you have to be kind of ready for anything when you travel, especially, with flights and stuff. It's wonky. You have to just kind of be ready for anything, honestly. So I think that's a good survive. I mean, I think that's a good habit to get into is just always packing healthy snacks because otherwise you'll be there with no food or
Yeah.
some food that it's probably not you really shouldn't be eating. Yeah.
Y- people say all the time that, there's so much work that goes into being an entertainer. And I mentioned this earlier, how we see the end result, but there's so much work behind the scenes just to be able to do that or a performance, and we're not privy to all the stuff behind the scenes. How do you like the public eye and the paparazzi and that kind of stuff? Is that hard to deal with?
I think it was. I didn't really realize how brutal they could be until I did
Mm.
my first Billboard. I was nominated for. Well, I won an award at the Billboard Awards for the One More Try music video. And I was so excited because I had this really cool outfit. It was a snakeskin mini skirt and the designer made a bra out of a Louis Vuitton bag, and I had like a faux fur short jacket, and I just thought I was like so hot. And then it came out in the Inquirer. It was in the Inquirer. Oh, worst dressed, at the Billboard Awards. Like I was one of and I was just like, are you kidding me? I was freaking fabulous. Like I was, I didn't know what to think. And then my publicist was like, hey, don't worry about it. Any publicity is good publicity. And I was like, well, I don't want to be remembered for the worst dressed. And he's like, no, be happy because there's thousands of people that were there. So just be happy that they took a picture of you and you're in the Inquirer. And I just was trying to, I was trying to wrap my head around that, that bad publicity could be good publicity. It's just you're getting publicity. I was like, really? That's really a thing? Okay.
Harsh, very harsh.
Hmm.
Uh,
And
the
hey, man, I still to this day I look at that outfit and go, man, that was so badass, and I don't know how I could have got worse dressed for that.
What's funny is you could probably wear it today and it would be a completely different focus and everybody would be like, wow, where did she get this? Because everybody's
Exactly. Yeah, it was just the timing. I think it was ahead of its time. It was too cool. It's like I look at what Lady Gaga wore a meat dress, right? And I don't think she still got worse dressed of anything. A dress made out of meat. I'm like, okay,
that's
hilarious.
that's funny. That's funny. I'm gonna remember
Mhm.
that now. That's gonna make me laugh. Um, Talk a little bit about how hard it is to have a personal life when you're in the public eye.
It's definitely really tough, very tough. I think and it's really tough when you have little kids because you're taking them, everywhere with you, and that's sometimes not a popular thing with the labels. They want you to look, you know, single and fun and available, and so you kind of keep the kids at that point. You would keep the kids in the hotel room with a friend, or my mom traveled with me a lot. So it was babies. I had two babies back to back, so yeah, so that was a whole different. Now people come out pregnant and sing and do all kinds of stuff, but 20 years ago it was the labels were a little bit more like, hey, you're supposed to look like this party chick. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? It was a little different, It's very, very different
Yeah.
actually when I think about it. Everything's become more real, now people just throw everything out there. So it's like, okay. So it's kind of gone to the opposite. Yeah.
You know, when I read, and of course I've been following you for a long time, but I remember the sickness diagnosis, and I know how hard you fought with that. And there's a lot of people out there that will read your story, and they'll see how you were able to conquer and persevere. And I don't think people, unless you're in that boat and you've been really, really ill or had a diagnosis, understand how incredible it is to be able to hear from someone who made it to the other side.
Oh yeah,
And
no, that's a huge thing. I remember trying to find somebody to talk to who had survived a stem cell transplant with their own stem cells collected over a long period of time at UCLA. Somebody that had survived it. You wanted to find somebody that survived what you were what you're fighting, and yeah, to find some sustenance and some hope in it. So yeah, that's a big deal, and it was not easy. I mean, it took a long time to find. I found a lady, and her nickname was Princess, and she was actually from South Africa, and she was really motivating for me because she was one of the few that had gone into remission, and she was still living close to UCLA because she was still precarious, you know. But I got to talk to her on the phone. I remember that really meant a lot. So it is good, and I've talked to many people now since then that have battled leukemia, and it's nice to be able to talk to them and say, hey, you can do this, and be a,
well,
a mentor.
I think more than none, we end up hearing the stories on the other side, the people that didn't make it and the people that suffered so terribly. And it's the negativity. Of course, we know that negativity in life is very detrimental. It's very harmful, and it just affects your aura and your focus and your hope. So when you're able to talk to somebody or see someone, and somebody is visible as yourself, who's fighting this, publicly, and you persevere, that is just like, I mean, if I was watching that and I had been diagnosed, I would think to myself, I can do this too. And that's how motivating it was. So, I think you brought a lot of hope and a lot of light and a lot of possibility to people. And I think you probably gave a lot of people more hope than you probably even know that you did.
Well, that makes me happy. Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all
Oh,
about, right, Jeffrey?
yes, ma'am. We need to share our positivity in a very much of a negative world, and
Yeah.
um, and I think we're all kind of overloaded, spinning in circles most of the time. And I think sometimes we don't realize the important things of our life until we're faced with something that is affecting the actual possibility of outcome of our life. I think that's the point when we start to appreciate friends and family, the simple things that we probably have in front of us that we haven't even looked at in a while, and
Yep.
gives us a brand new
Yes.
sense of purpose.
Absolutely. Yes. Completely. Well said. I like that.
So,
Perfect.
so talk about, what are we doing now? What's on? I mean, I've been watching you. You're like everywhere. I've never seen anybody with that much energy. I
Well,
and I have energy. I can't keep up with you. So,
oh, well, this was the album that we've kind of been promoting for the last, this is Love and Lies. This one came out in 2020, and it was a rough time, because COVID hit basically a week after the album came out. So it was that then it was basically that was a really rough time to put out an album, but we still had and I was going through a divorce at the time, and it was like COVID, divorce, like everything happened at the same time. And but there's a lot of magic in this album, Love and Lies, and so that was the last album that came out. And then we've had Can't Look Back has been a single that's really been a great one. And Here's to the Men That Might Have Been, Here's to the Hearts We Broke, and Pray They'll Mend. Oh yeah. And then By My Side was a big hit for us. Um, and then this one, Smooth Operator, that one's really killing it right now. So this was inspired from a graduation party I had for my kids, and all the kids were setting stuff up, and none of the kids knew who Sade was when the DJ was sound checking the system. And I couldn't believe that out of all those kids, nobody knew who Sade was. They thought it was me singing. They're like, "Oh, is that you? Is that you singing?" And I was like, "No, hasn't anybody heard of Sade?" And I was like, all these kids, and nobody knew who Sade was. And I was like, "Oh, we gotta we gotta do something about that." And I said, I'm gonna make sure that when you guys turn 21, you're gonna be at Hakkasan or one of these big parties dancing to a dance mix of Smooth Operator. And we made that happen.
Yes, you did. You should see my playlist. You're like all over my playlist. It's like I just plug in. I don't care if I'm working on something. You are always anybody that comes to my house. They'll be like, "Okay, yeah, yeah."
Yeah, and it's
You
really
got Chris.
fun. Oh my gosh. And the music video, my best friend, from the pageant days, she's an actress now, and she's done so many great movies. But she directed the music video, and her daughter is an actress, and she's in VIP. She's in the Marvel movies, and she's been in a lot of different TV shows and everything since she was little. And then my son played the smooth operator in the music video, and it's a great music video. It really is. And
Mm-hmm.
another friend of mine, William White, he made a cameo at the end as the landlord. It's just a hoot. The video is a hoot. So if you haven't seen the Smooth Operator video, the official one with the James Herr mix on it, there's a new one now that's a brand new edit with completely different footage. The Dario Xavier, producer out of Brazil, that one's really big right now too. But Smooth Operator it's been such a joyful experience. It was a lot of fun things came from doing a reinvention of a Sade song. And I mean, who would have thought that a high school graduation party would would inspire that? It's just nuts. All of it cracks me up. And it
No, I think I.
inspired her. She started
Mhm.
recording again. Sade hasn't recorded for 30 years. She's starting to record again.
That's
So we
fantastic.
inspired her,
That's a
right?
good thing. Yes, that's a great thing. So, talk about what's coming up. Another album coming out this year.
Yes, and I just finished finished the last song. Listen to the mix; it's insane. Steve Migliori is the lead producer on a song called "Love Personified" that I wrote with the guys from the Stronger album. They wrote "Stronger" with me. That's Judd Friedman and Alan Rich.
Mm-hmm.
They are the masterminds behind the Bodyguard soundtrack, the Whitney Houston Bodyguard movie soundtrack. They won a lot of "I Want to Run to You" and those great songs. So writing with them again was just fantastic. And so that was the last song on the album. So we're just gonna start mastering, and yeah, it's really fun. I have so many dance music icons on this album. I've got probably 21 of just, people like Tony Moran and Chris Cox and Lee Dagger and um, James Herr, Seventh Heaven that did the new Cher Christmas album. Those guys are amazing. A lot of producers from all over the world, Alex Costa. I could be here. I could be here all day because I bet there's got to be 21, 22, right in the 20 something of the best people in dance music. Some of the best in dance music.
How
So,
exciting! I can't wait. I can't wait for it to drop.
uh,
It's gonna be it'll be swooped up real fast by me. That's for sure.
oh, it's
Um,
very, very inspiring. There's a lot of inspiration in this one. hmm And we've got a show coming up that's going to be amazing. I think we might debut one of the songs, maybe Love Personified, at the show at the Sabian Theater, which is one of the most beautiful theaters in the Southwestern United States. So if you get a chance, I'm going to be performing with over 200 voices with the Gay Men's Los Angeles Choir. Los Angeles Gay Men's Choir.
Nice.
It's called Dancing Queens is the show. So get your tickets.
I love it.
It's gonna be epic, and it's gonna be all dance music, house music, starting from the 70s on up, and yeah, so over 200 voices. That's a huge choir. It's gonna be something. Yeah.
That's a lot of voices in one place.
And that's a very well-oiled machine. What a professional and amazing people. I'm working with the arranger right now. We're definitely going to do a Donna Summer song. I can't let too many cats out of the bag, but there's going to be some of my hits in there. And I just, if you get a chance to be there, it's the weekend of the 21st and the 22nd, Saturday and Sunday at the Sabian Theater in Los Angeles. Yeah, so get your tickets. It's gonna be epic.
I think it's going to be
a
fantastic.
party in June.
No, it just continues to go for you, and that's amazing. I love
fun.
that you're. Yeah, that's just it. That's the bottom line. You're loving it. You're doing it. You're enjoying it, and you're doing it your way. And there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, it's nice. I've got my own label. I've got distribution through Sony. My label's called Fly Again Music, and the Orchard Sony does all my digital distribution, and we just we do our own thing, so we can make great music that inspires people. We need it. Music is it's a great healer. Mm-hmm.
What is something that grounds you?
I think just where I came from grounds me. I'm a person of faith. I think my faith grounds me huge. I think that's, I think it's hard for people that believe that they're the end of the party, like everything, you know what I mean? I think maybe after a while, if you don't believe in a higher power, you think you are the higher power. I'm not sure, but there's definitely there's something happening there. So I think I'm a person of faith. I just I think horses ground me. I have a horse hotel. The horses come through here all the time. I overnight them. I've always been a horse freak since I was a little kid. My grandparents are that they raise quarter horses, and they're farmers. They're alfalfa farmers. I still raise onions up in Eastern Washington. I have some land up there. I'm very much in touch with the earth too, so I think that's keeps you grounded, and you're a horse person too,
So
right,
we're
Jeffrey?
down to 10 and a third. The third being a mini, that's a support mini. So we're down to 10 and a third. And but I'll tell you, I explain to somebody when I come off a trip, because I travel so much.
Yes.
If I hug a horse, I can feel the energy all the way to my feet.
Exactly. It's like, right? They're so healing. And I tell, people just come over and pet my horses, hang out with them, bring them a carrot. I invite everybody to come over and have some horse therapy because it's just so good for the soul. I think my upbringing, coming out of the farming community and then also having a mom that was a musician, it was like a really great combination of both worlds. So kind of try, it keeps you a bit normal, and you don't get so full of yourself because that you're just you're just a small part of this. You're just a small part of the party, no matter what you tell yourself. Yeah.
My grandmother used to always say, "You're one star in a very big galaxy." And I always remembered that. And she was very old and very wise. And she's the one that got me into nutrition and health and well-being. She would pick dandelions and brew dandelion tea.
My grandmother did that too. Dandelions. Oh my gosh. You got the dandelion treatment too. So did I. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Yeah.
My grandmother had a pot on her stove. She was doing bone broth when bone broth wasn't even cool. She would just keep adding onions and celery and chickens to this pot. I think that pot was on her stove for like 30 years. And when you went to her house, you got a cup of broth. That's how she met you at the door. And you would drink this cup of, it was just like, you didn't say no. to Nana. You just got it. And, she taught me a lot of stuff when I was young. So that's once again how we can learn from our upbringing.
Yep, my grandma, same thing. She was, like I said, she had gotten hit by lightning, and she had done so many things to survive, because they said, you're not, your time's limited. You need to make sure that you get your affairs in order. And, she really was bad off for probably, probably 5-6 years easily. But she just changed everything. And she literally, only ate healthy foods, only, you know, uh, pure foods. She did the dandelion greens, and she pureed everything. I'll never forget that. The blender was always going.
Mm.
And just like you say, it was either right out of the blender, she'd drink it, or she would heat it up and make it into a soup and drink it. I never saw her eat solid food ever after that. I mean, a soft boiled egg was as much as she could tolerate. And but she lived 28 years after that. That's a miracle. And she got hit
Huge
with,
miracle.
yeah, huge miracle. And I said, geez, Grandma, this, aren't you miserable? You never get to do this. She goes, I'm here to support your mother. I'm here to make sure you kids grow up and are, good people, and you don't kill yourselves and whatever. I'm here to make sure that, you guys survive everything. Yeah, she was a soldier. She was unreal. Mm-hmm. Good
I have,
people.
you know what? I'm very happy. I came from strict upbringing, and at the time I didn't like being in a strict upbringing because all my friends got away with murder. But I'll tell you what, that strict upbringing made me who I am today, and the values that came with it, even though when you're a kid, you don't appreciate it. But
Oh,
now you
you
look
think you're
back and you
being punished? Oh yeah, my grandma
exactly.
was, yeah, no pop. We could never. I don't.
No.
They never bought pop. There was no, like, we wanted Fruit Loops. There was nothing. No oatmeal. I
Mm-mm.
mean, everything was health food, and it was so. Oh, you were mad all the time, and your friends would come over and go, "Ew, this is what you eat all the time. You don't have any cookies. You don't have any of this. You don't.
Uh-uh.
No sugar. I mean, there was hardly any sugar at our place. My mom would put a big thing of apples, and there was always lots of peanut butter, and they weren't even that, they were Seventh-day Adventists. So, before my mom joined the Congregational Church, which was just basically Christian, they all grew up Seventh-day Adventists. So if anybody knows about Seventh-day Adventists, they don't eat a lot of meat or anything. There's
Mm-mm.
eggs and fish. So but then you had the Whiteses on the other side of the family they grew, my grandpa grew he raised pigs and cattle, so we had the two opposite families. It was hilarious. Yeah. So, but oh my god, you think back on all that stuff, you just crack up. Oh my gosh,
My
good
grandmother,
stuff.
I remember she used to say, "You're hungry? Go sit in the garden, eat everything you can reach."
Yeah,
So
my
we would go sit
grandparents,
in the garden.
everybody always had gardens. My grandma had a garden. My other grandparents had gardens. That's one thing I'll never forget. Everybody was always growing stuff all the time, which
Mhm.
is great. And I find myself doing the same thing. I'll just plant stuff to plant stuff. It's got stuff growing all over the place here. Yeah.
It's my brother bought the house we were raised in back in Michigan, and of course he built and added on to it. And it was very small. And when we were young, we were very poor. But he built this big house where the other one was. And every time I go to his house in the summer, I go sit in the garden and eat whatever I could reach. It's amazing how that sticks with you after all these
I
years.
love that. That's great. Oh yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, this has been an absolute honor for me because I'm such a huge fan, and I consider you a friend, and it's amazing been able to watch your career, where it's come and where it's going. And I would just love if you would leave everybody with a Kristine W thought for the day.
Well, love and music. I think those are kind of the answers to a lot of the struggles that we have. And just stay positive, and the power of music is real. Believe it.
I love it. I love it. My guest today, Kristine W, here talking about, life, possibilities, music, heart, soul. So happy
I
she's
love you
here
guys.
today.
Mwah. Love you,
So
Jeffrey.
Thank you, my darling. I'm so glad you're here. Remember, go to my webpage, drjeffreyburke.com, tap on the Honest Health logo, and you'll go to Spotify where you can listen to the audio. But if you want to watch it, and I definitely think you want to watch this one, go to my YouTube channel and watch the video. Just tap on the logo and you will go there. I wish everyone well. Take care of yourselves. Be healthy. And Kristine, God bless.
Oh, yep. And go to KristineW.com. Hey, we're supposed to do that. We got to plug that. And thank you to Jeff Dorda, my publicist, and to Chris Likens, who's here, that helped set this whole thing up today. So I'm really lucky. I've got great people around me. Love you guys.
I'm so glad you do it. And thank you for mentioning them as well. God bless everyone.
Stay tuned for more information from the Honest Health Podcast with Jeffrey Burke. And make sure to check back often for interviews and conversations from the guests we all want to hear from. I'm John the Announcer. Thanks for listening.